So in this video, I'm comparing the 5-tier Oyrel shoe rack with the 3-tier Aooda shoe rack, and I just want to go over some pros and cons of each of them. So for starters, taking a look at the 5-tier, one of the most visible differences is going to be the fact that it comes in a 5-tier, so you're going to have a lot more space for shoes on each of these rows over here. On top of that, it also does come with a 7-tier and an 8-tier option if you really want to go ahead and amp up your shoe organization. Now, taking a look at construction, this is where things get a little bit different between these two. Although they both are going to be made of metal rods, these just feel a little bit thinner than these over here, as well as because these are made out of plastic connectors, it's not going to be the most secure when it comes to trying to go ahead and move this, and I'll show that in a sec afterwards. Now, as far as these woven fabric goes, they do feel pretty similar. The big difference between these two would be the fact that right over here, there's not going to be any sewing over here, so if there's ever a rip, it can go ahead and potentially keep going. Whereas on this one, it's going to be sewed over here, so this one just feels like it's protected a little bit more. Now, biggest pro about this one would be the fact that it does have this side organizer. So if you have additional shoes or kids' shoes, they could easily go ahead and just fit on the side just to go ahead and store more shoes. Now, one big thing to take note about this 5-tier versus this 3-tier is going to be the space between them. So depending on how big your shoes are, you might want to consider it. So this is about 6 inches of shoe height that you're getting, whereas on this one, you're going to be getting up to 7 1/4 or so. So if you have big shoes or if you have like boots, then this one would probably be a better choice. Now, when it comes to assembly, I'm going to give it to the Oyrel. This was extremely simple to do, considering all it had was connectors, so all I had to do was just push them in together. Whereas on the Aooda, you did need some tools. I had a drill, but it did come with like a screwdriver and a hex bolt to go ahead and just screw everything in together. But with that being said, I do prefer the construction of the Aooda over the Oyrel just because it's screwed in. This definitely feels like it's going to be a lot more secure. Now, I did get the 3-tier option, but it also does come in a 4-tier option as well. So if you want to store even more shoes, you can go ahead and opt for that one. Now, one thing that was cool about this one as opposed to the Oyrel was the fact that you can go ahead and just add more on top of this. So if you bought 2 3s, you can go ahead and just stack one on top of each other. And then you can see there's going to be holes over here and then holes at the bottom as well. So you can just lay it right on top, and it comes with some extra screws to turn it from a 3-tier to a 6-tier. Now, something else that the Aooda had over the Oyrel would have been the fact that the feet just feel a lot more secure. These are going to be like rubberized feet, so it's going to feel like it's not going to go ahead and move, versus the Oyrel, it's just going to be these plastic connectors that are at the bottom. Now, of course, because this one's made out of thinner tubing, this also is going to be a lot lighter to go ahead and move as opposed to this one over here. But I prefer the weight on this one just because, again, it'll make it feel a lot sturdier, and also I can just go ahead and move shoes from right over here, and I'll go ahead and test that out in a sec. So as far as shoe capacity goes, on the Oyrel, I was able to fit barely 4 pairs of shoes on each row, and I did go ahead and squeeze them in like this. If you had smaller feet, you could probably just fit them more comfortably, but fit 4 times 5, which is 20, plus 3 on the side, that's going to be 23 total on this one. Now, on the Aooda, I was able to fit 5 pairs, including boots, on each of these rows, so that's 15 total. And one big difference was I can go ahead and actually fit boots in here. It had just enough height for the 7 inches, as opposed when I tried to go ahead and put it here, I couldn't, so I just put the boots right up on top. Now, checking to see how stable this is, it does wobble a little bit, but not enough to make me nervous. What does make me nervous is trying to move this, just because if I try to go ahead and just grab these handles up top, they'll just immediately come off like so, because again, these are just made of plastic connectors on top and the tube, so I have to go ahead and put that back. So the only way to actually move this would just be by sliding or picking it up very gently from somewhere at the bottom. Now, the Aooda is going to be a different story. Although this one does wobble a little bit, moving it from place to place is a lot easier because, again, these are screwed on, so I can actually go ahead and pick it up with confidence, and I know this isn't going to go ahead and break anytime soon. Now, as far as my favorite goes, I'm going to have to give it to the 3-tier Aooda, simply because I feel like this one's a little bit more stable and I can go ahead and move it around, and I don't need the extra space for shoes. But if you do have a lot of shoes and your shoe rack is going to stay in one place and you don't really want to move it anywhere, then yeah, the Oyrel is definitely going to be a good choice for you.